There was a time when I thought fairy tales might be real after all. It was a rainy afternoon in October when I first met Owen, a chance encounter at a bookstore where we both reached for the same worn copy of The Great Gatsby. He laughed first, a low, easy sound that melted away the awkwardness between two strangers. I remember thinking, he feels like home. Our first few months together were blissfully simple. We spent weekends wandering through flea markets, cooking elaborate meals we were too clumsy to perfect, and sitting for hours by the river, sharing our hopes for the future. He would tuck a strand of hair behind my ear when he thought I wasn't looking. He would send me playlists for no reason at all. It felt effortless. Natural. I met his mother, Mrs. Carlyle, on a golden Sunday afternoon. She had Owen's smile, but none of his softness. Her handshake was firm, her eyes sharp, weighing me in some private, silent calculation. Still, she was polite enough, asking questions about my family, my career, my education. I chalked up her briskness to nerves or natural protectiveness. After all, what mother wouldn't want the best for her son? At first, it was just little things. I canceled dinner because Mom needed help moving a bookshelf. A sudden change of plans because Mom wants me to come over tonight. Tiny cracks, so small that if you blinked, you could pretend they weren't there at all. And I did. For a long time, I did. Because Owen would always come back to me with that same easy laugh, that same warmth, and the same whispered promises that I was the one he wanted, that nothing and no one could change that. At least, that's what I believed then. The cracks didn't shatter overnight. They widened slowly, almost imperceptibly, like ice creeping across a winter lake. It was little moments at first, the kind you can excuse when you're in love. We had planned a weekend getaway to a cozy cabin upstate, just the two of us. I spent days choosing the perfect place, a small wooden house by a frozen lake, fireplaces in every room, a stack of classic novels waiting in the corner. I pictured us wrapped in blankets, trading stories, falling asleep to the crackle of firewood. But the night before we were meant to leave, Owen called. His voice was apologetic, hesitant. "Hey, babe. Mom twisted her ankle this morning. She's feeling pretty down about it. I think I should stay close, just in case she needs anything." I hesitated. The suitcase sat packed at the foot of my bed, tickets printed and tucked neatly into a folder. But how could I say no? His mother was hurt. What kind of person would I be to begrudge him that? "Of course," I said. "She needs you." And I meant it. At least, I wanted to. We didn't reschedule the trip. It simply disappeared, like smoke from a candle snuffed out too soon. There were other moments, too. When we went out to dinner, he'd check his phone constantly for her texts. When we talked about moving in together someday, he'd mention needing to find a place close enough for Mom to drop by easily. Every dream I spun in my mind, of lazy Sunday mornings, shared secrets in a home of our own, began to fray at the edges. Still, I stayed. Because when he smiled at me across the table, when he brushed his hand against mine like a secret only we shared, it was easy to pretend. To believe that I was enough. It's funny how love can make you blind to the things you know deep down are going to hurt you. It was during the spring that the fault lines became impossible to ignore. Owen and I had been talking, in that careful, tentative way couples do, about taking the next step, maybe moving in together officially. I found a beautiful apartment, high ceilings, sun-drenched windows, just a block from the art museum where we had spent our first anniversary. I remember the excitement bubbling in my chest as I sent him the listing. I imagined us painting walls in the wrong shades, arguing over where the couch should go, building a life together one coffee-stained morning at a time. He texted back almost immediately. "Looks amazing. Let me show Mom and get her thoughts." For a moment, I stared at the message, feeling something cold unfurl inside me. I had never thought to ask for anyone else's permission to be happy. The next evening, we met at our favorite cafe, the one with ivy creeping up the brick walls and music always humming low in the background. He looked distracted, stirring his coffee absent-mindedly, avoiding my eyes. "She thinks it's too far," he said finally. She said if there's an emergency, she wouldn't be able to get to me quickly. Emergency. The word tasted bitter on my tongue. Are we planning our life around emergencies now? I tried to keep my voice light, teasing. But he just shrugged. I don't want her to feel abandoned. Abandoned. The irony twisted inside me like a knife. I wanted to scream that I was the one who felt abandoned. Every day, a little more. Instead, I smiled, small and tight, and let the dream of the sunlit apartment drift away like a balloon cut loose into the sky. More weekends slipped by. Every invitation from me was countered by a reason why he needed to stay near home. A leaking faucet. A broken light bulb. A lonely Sunday. Each excuse wrapped itself tighter around our relationship, squeezing the life from it in slow, invisible ways. There were nights I lay awake beside him, wondering if there would ever come a moment when he would choose me, not as a rebellion, not as a favor, but simply because he wanted to. I already knew the answer. But some truths are too heavy to carry until they are forced into your arms. Loneliness is a strange thing. You can be wrapped in someone's arms and still feel like you're standing outside in the cold, forehead pressed against the glass, looking in on a life you're not allowed to touch. I stopped asking Owen to choose. Stopped suggesting trips, stopped sending him apartment listings, stopped dreaming aloud about the future. It was easier to build a quiet wall around my heart than to watch it be chipped away piece by piece. It was around then that I met Daniel. He worked with me, a colleague at first, a friend second, an unexpected balm to the aching hollow that had formed inside me. He didn't mean to step into the spaces Owen had left empty. He simply listened, really listened, in a way I hadn't realized I was starving for. A casual conversation over coffee turned into long, winding talks after work. Not about anything monumental, just life, memories, little hopes tucked away for safer days. With Daniel, I felt visible again. Not something to be managed. Not a secondary character in someone else's life. Just me. There was never a moment where a line was deliberately crossed. No whispered declarations, no forbidden touches. But emotions, I learned, can betray you long before your body ever does. One evening, after a long day blurred into another, we found ourselves sitting in the empty office lounge, the golden light of the setting sun pooling around us like honey. I laughed at something he said, a real, unexpected laugh that shook the dust from my ribs. And in that moment, the ache inside me shifted, from hunger to something dangerously close to longing. He looked at me with a softness that asked nothing and promised nothing, only saw me. Truly saw me. I left first. I always left first. Because no matter how sweet the silence between us became, I wore a ring Owen had never actually offered and a promise he had never actually made. But in the corners of my heart, something had already broken loose. Something I could no longer pretend I could fix. The truth, once loose, has a way of finding its own voice. It wasn't a dramatic discovery. There were no secret messages, no damning photos. Just a change in me that Owen, even in his distracted, half-there way, couldn't ignore. One evening, as we sat on the worn couch in his living room, a game show flickering silently in the background, he turned to me with a strange expression. An uncertainty. A suspicion. You seem different lately, he said, cautious, as though afraid of the answer. I stared at him, at the man I had loved, at the boy who had never truly left his mother's house, and realized that there was nothing left I could give that wouldn't be stolen from me in the end. I'm tired, Owen, I said softly. Not angry. Not accusing. Just exhausted. Tired of what? Of waiting to be first. The silence between us was louder than any shouting match could have been. His face twisted, wounded in a way that almost made me falter. Are you seeing someone else? He asked, the words brittle, sharp-edged. No, I said, and it was the truth. But also not the whole truth. I hadn't given my body to anyone else. But my heart? My heart had long ago begun to drift toward the one place where it felt wanted. He accused me anyway. Of betrayal, of disloyalty, of giving up too easily. He spoke of sacrifices, of loyalty, of how I should have understood his bond with his mother better. And maybe he was right. Maybe I should have been stronger. Maybe I should have loved him enough to live forever in second place. But sitting there, with the ghosts of all the moments we had lost haunting the air between us, I realized I didn't want to spend a lifetime fighting for scraps of someone's love. I wanted to be chosen. Freely, joyfully, without conditions. And he wanted a partner who could accept always being second to someone else. Neither of us was wrong. We just weren't right for each other. So here I am, writing this now. AITA for letting my heart find comfort in someone who saw me first, when my own boyfriend never really could.